All right, let's test 1 2, test 1 2. All right, we are good. We've got a PDS tornado warning in effect here just to the south and east of Bismarck, South Dakota. This is a confirmed large and extremely dangerous situation. This is a PDS tornado warning, the first one in a couple of months, especially back out here in North Dakota. So if you are south of Bismarck, North Dakota, we've got a PDS tornado warning. Chasers observed a large wedge tornado ongoing. However, today's environment does have an LC, very close LCL, which means that our clouds are very, very low. So I do think that this is not a wedge tornado. I believe that it is actually a very low mesocyclone that has been mistaken for a large wedge tornado. But either way, this is a PDS tornado warning, the first one in a couple of months. It is currently in effect out here in Cannonball, just to the southeast of Bismarck in North Dakota. So if you're in that purple polygon, you are in a particularly dangerous situation. This is a life-threatening situation. Large and extremely dangerous tornado has been observed by multiple storm chasers. Just want to get all my radars up here. I just turned on my computer, and then they upgraded this to a PDS warning. So you could see this is a observed considerable PDS tornado warning in effect out here. This is, again, just southeast of Bismarck. I am going to quickly... we're going to switch over to the PDS scene. The date is incorrect. I'll just briefly switch that. So there's your PDS tornado warning. Once again, make sure you are in your safe spot in effect there, just south of Bismarck. Cannonball, get in your safe spot. Our tornado is somewhere in here. However, this storm is dropping multiple tornadoes. So this thing has not dropped just like one or two brief tornadoes. This thing is consistently dropping, 2, 3, 4 tornadoes every couple of minutes. Just because of how low those cloud tops are. We're seeing multiple funnels, multiple tiny tornadoes touch down, kind of like a multi-vortex tornado. So, like I said, I don't think this is a huge, large tornado like what we've seen some photos of. I think that is like a large cloud base that is dropping multiple different tiny tornadoes that are briefly touching down and lifting back up. And really, this has started to, on the last few frames, weaken. If I go back here just like 4 frames or so, let's see if I can do that. Okay, like right back in here, still not a very good idea of it, but you could see the multiple different areas of rotation embedded inside of this very large area of broad, weaker rotation. So I think we're seeing a lot of brief, weak tornadoes. And here comes another one. Look at this one. You could see this convergence occurring right here. You've got these green winds starting to increase and these darker reds beginning to increase in intensity. And so we're starting to see convergence of inbound winds moving like this and outbound winds moving like this, leading to an area of stronger rotation inside this larger, broad area of rotation. So again, get in your safe spot if you are out here in Cannonball. This looks to be a new couplet of rotations starting to form here under a PDS tornado warning for the next 30 minutes here as this storm moves off to the north-northeast, or rather north-northwest here. So this is going to be going towards Lincoln, Bismarck, Mandan here in about an hour and a half or so from now. Now, we do have a very large tornado watch that is in effect here in the purple highlighted area. If you're in that tornado watch, conditions are favorable for the development of a brief, weak spin-up tornado or two. But we have this little area of convergence from a low pressure and an area of very low instability. So what this is it's a case of very low cloud tops mixed with a strong low pressure and a little bit of 3 Cape. So it's a very more conditional tornado risk that we're seeing here. If it wasn't for this this low pressure being so really obvious here, I mean, really the low pressure is right with this rain shower. And that's what's helping to give it that vorticity enough to be able to try and produce tornadoes and succeed at producing some tornadoes here. I don't have another tab open, so I got to close the screen out for just a second here. All right, there you go. So, yeah, glad to see you guys all in the chat today. Hopefully everyone's having a great day. Didn't plan on doing a live stream today, but then we got that PDS warning, and I was available, so decided to boot up a stream real quick. Let me get out our pin as well. All right, let's see. All right, there is that. So this PDS tornado warning, I really don't expect to last long. Honestly, a bit surprised they pulled it in the first place. Did not expect that whatsoever. That PDS warning came out of nowhere, and I really don't think we're gonna see too much more today. Really, it's just gonna be this heavy rain shower that is in front of a low pressure, and that's increasing its vorticity. So your main low is back here, but it's just the location of this stronger thunderstorm orientated to where the low pressure is located that just gives it the best environment. So I mean, we're probably going to see a couple more tornadoes out of this storm. So if you are in front of this PDS warning here in the purple polygon, Bismarck, Wilton, Reagan, Wing, all these areas well downstream of this tornado warning, we will likely end up seeing this being a long-lasting tornadic thunderstorm. I checked radar at like noon, and I'm pretty sure this thing was tornado warned in northern South Dakota at that point. So this is not a storm. This is not a storm, like I said, that's going to be, dropping a long tracked wedge tornado or anything like that. We're going to be seeing a lot of quick, brief spin up tornadoes that only last a couple of seconds, and literally a couple of seconds for most of these tornadoes, and then they dissipate in a matter of less than a minute. So just make sure you are in your safe spot if you're in any of these tornado warnings. We've got 2 tornado warnings active at the moment. So just seek shelter if you are in either one of those active tornado warnings. All right, let me get this really quick here. I didn't have time to set up the stream at all. Now that this area of rotation is really weakened. Let's see. But yeah, this thing, it's gonna have this large mezzo. As long as it has these greens and reds like this, this thing's going to be able to attempt to produce tornadoes for a long time. As long as it consistently has this signature here, where you have a large green and a large area of red. And then wherever those convergence signatures meet here, which in this case is just north of Cannonball at the moment, but before that PDS warning came out, we had like 3-4 different areas that we were watching of rotation. Back here, we had one here in this area, where we had that tornado report. Then we had one north of that tornado report. Then we had 2 more well north of the tornado report. So we had like 4 or 5 different areas of rotation we were watching in the matter of 3 to 6 minutes there. But this is the main area for tornadoes today. I don't expect to see anything else tornadic anywhere else today. There's still going to be a chance for a brief spin up tornado in this area as our low pressure pulls up from the south, moving up to the northeast. But the main area will be a very small corridor where this storm tracks here. That's definitely a much more concerning signature right there. So this is, wow, this is a very, what ingredients do we have? I was for sure today was garbage for ingredients. Yeah, very unfavorable environment here. Very, very, very unfavorable environment. Not favorable whatsoever. It's got to be that surface vorticity mixed with the 3 cape. Ew. This is a horrendous environment. Yikes. This is a terrible environment. How are we even getting tornadoes with this? Yeah, that low pressure is doing all the work today. I don't know how we even have this type of signature with the environment we got. Our environment is garbage. Yeah, also going to watch over here, too, just where these signatures are the strongest. You could see this was one area of convergence. See where this red was right here? And the green slowly moved north up towards that red, and then they converged right in this area. So that could easily happen again back here, too. But it looks like the best spot for that is definitely right where that notching is happening. You can see it in the storm structure. See how the rain splits right here? So you've definitely got some winds pushing into the storm like this, and then you've got those outbound winds like this. That's creating a area of rotation right on the edge of that the inflow and outbound winds right there. So Yeah, wouldn't be shocked if this is producing another tornado. I'm gonna mute desktop audio and I'm gonna go check this storm chaser here. There we go. This is the first PDS tornado warning in such a long time. In such a long time. That's why I decided to go live for it. All right, hold on. I'm going to just quickly do this. There we go. Perfect. All right, y'all can't see that, right? Okay. I ain't trying to get copyrighted here. Let's see if there's any... Okay, this chaser's behind the storm. Let's see where this chaser is. This one's in front of the storm. So we've got a chaser in front and a chaser behind the storm. Another thing is this is... Okay, that's really, really good. You see how the green and the red no longer as close, so that's really good. We don't have the best environment either. Again, really I really think the only reason we're seeing tornadoes today is because of the low pressure and how close our LCLs and LSCs are. I forgot what they're called exactly. Just your clouds. Your clouds are very, very low. Let's see. Can I get the abbreviation for those? I forgot what they were called, honestly. I ain't gonna lie. It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute. The HRRR definitely didn't do great with this event. Once this storm really started to fire, though, towards like 1 o'clock, that's when the HRRR really picked up on it. So, this should be able to last for a while. Unless it moves more northwest. The best instability is to its east. So again, we have a PDS tornado warning in effect for Cannonball in North Dakota. Multiple spotters confirmed, multiple tornadoes, and one of which looked to be a large and extremely dangerous tornado. So this is, again, in North Dakota. Now, once this expires, I'll go a little bit more widespread because there is other severe weather events we'll be watching later today. But I want to focus where our PDS tornado warning is. So that lasts for another 20 minutes. Still a pretty concerning signature there. Still a pretty concerning signature. You've got a really large green area, really large red area. So that's basically, this is your radar's located up here. That's where your radar is. So according to that radar, we have a lot of winds that are moving south at probably about 40 to 50 mile per hour winds there. And those greens just weakened. So this green here, that's probably about 20 mile an hour winds there moving north. This is probably closer to about 40 mile an hour winds moving north. So we have this stronger area of winds and this stronger area of winds. And when those two meet, we got that closer... We can get those closer areas of rotation that actually try to form tornadoes. Let me switch these frames here. There we go. So if I go all the way back here, you could see they were pretty far, right? You had that same stronger winds here, minimal rotation anywhere in the middle. A couple frames later, oh, you've got one area of rotation dropping a tornado right there, another one right there trying to drop a tornado. Tornado ongoing right there, pushing it further, and now you got a bunch of signatures that are trying to drop tornadoes. And then that's when they pulled the PDS tornado warning. We had this signature really trying to drop a tornado, and now it's starting to weaken. So this will probably attempt to produce another tornado here pretty soon, over the next 10 minutes or so. It looks like that's weakened at the moment. Hello, Proxy. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, Twilight, as well as Johnny. Glad to see you guys in here. Everyone else in chat. Hopefully everyone's having a great Sunday so far. I know it's definitely a weird pop-up live stream, but I was just available, so I decided to hit the go live button. Why not, right? Let me see how many people are in this PDS tornado warning. The problem is when this thing gets a bit more north and it gets into the more populated areas. Okay, let's see that new velocity scan. That's still your old one. All right, this should be your new one here. Please? No. No, we gotta wait 30 more seconds. Dang it. Okay, 30 more seconds. You know, I can wait that. I can wait that. Really good look, though, right here. Loving this look where your storm's getting a lot more disorganized. Yeah, if you just sent me, like, if you sent me a screenshot of this without any warning, I would never guess this is a PDS tornado warning. um, Again, what I think the reason for the PDS tornado warning was somebody reported a large wedge tornado. And again, in reality, it was probably the mesocyclone just simply rotating. And it was very low to the ground. Like I said, our LCLs are very low. So your storm formed with very, very surface-based cloud tops, very low cloud tops. Let me go to the population of this tornado warning. That's what I wanted to check. 383 people, one school, no hospital. So typically that does not warrant a PDS tornado warning with that low of a population. They're a lot more frequent with higher populations, but I mean, my opinion didn't definitely jumped the gun on the PDS, but hey, definitely was a tornado on the ground. Yeah, so you can see this signature already trying to tighten back up here. So let me show you the environment. Let me show you what we're dealing with here. So our tornado, our PDS tornado that has dropped probably 5 or so tornadoes at this point, probably all of which being brief and weak. Right there, that's our storm. I know we've had at least 3 tornadoes. I personally have seen at least 3 tornadoes from this storm from chaser feeds. And I mean, this sucker's in an environment with probably about 500 CAPE. Looking at your helicity, we're looking at probably 20 to 30, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. Your 0 to 3 kilometer SRH is a bit better, probably closer to 150 to 200, 0 to 3 kilometer SRH there. Your hodograph map, now that's pretty good. You could see these very elongated, large hodographs. Very favorable for tornadic supercells. And they're very elongated, which probably is helping with that more large area of rotation that we're seeing. Let me go to, this is your cloud heights here. So these are your LCLs, and you can see, I mean, they are very, very, very low LCLs. I think, wonder if I can get a better sounding on this. Let's see. I don't know what this is based off of. So this is 100 millibar paracel heights LCLs. So I'm assuming that's like, yeah, I don't really know what that is exactly. I don't know how to read the LCLs on this one. I know how to read the LCLs on College Dew page. I'll show you that. I haven't used the mesoanalysis LCLs before. But yeah, your temperature dew point spread is literally the same, 68, 68. So, I mean, this is as surface based as it's gonna get. Super surface based. Yeah, this doesn't even really do it justice either. This is that's the NAM 3K. Your LCLs are very close to each other. I'll show this, but it's not accurate. So this shows your LCLs and your LFC pretty separated. In reality, your LFC is like right here. Like this, the cloud tops are right next to each other, where your storms fire are so low that basically if there's a mesocyclone, it's just going to look like a big tornado. There's a photo of it on Twitter from a chaser I know, and it's a mesocyclone, but the whole thing looks like a 2-mile wedge tornado because your cloud tops are so low. And when your cloud tops are very low like that, obviously there's not as much of a distance for your funnel cloud to travel towards the ground. But obviously tornadoes are from the ground up. Just not a good environment. I mean, if we didn't have that very close LFC and LCL, we would not be getting tornadoes today. End of story. We would not be seeing tornadoes if we did not have that close LCL and LFC. It just, we wouldn't be seeing them. Just straight up. Because our environment is garbage. Now, again, if this keeps moving northwest, it's going to get further and further from that environment. So, yo, that contamination jump scared me for a second right there. Jump scare contamination. All right. From a PDS all the way down to a radar indicated tornado warning. So we're going to go back to this scene. And with that being said, I'm not ending the stream. We're going to go ahead and zoom out to a wider view here. This one. So let's go over to our severe weather outlooks here. And we've got 3 slight risks for severe weather today. So we got our main one back up here in North Dakota. Big old 5% tornado risk in effect up there in a good chunk of central North Dakota, even into eastern North Dakota. A couple tornadoes are possible. Main tornado threat's definitely going to be focused with this storm over the next 2 hours as it goes towards Bismarck. Please be hyper weather aware. But we will also see additional supercells fire in front of our low. So our low pressure's down in here, and obviously low pressure spin this way. They spin counterclockwise. And these storms down here are going to be moving into a slightly more favorable environment. Now, the good news is there's not a lot of wind shear today. So these storms are not going to be able to rapidly form into mothership supercells and explode into a bunch of discrete supercells. These are going to be very gradual intensification, pretty slow moving supercells that are probably going to be very high precipitation and very low cloud tops in terms of really close to the surface. So I do think we will see a few more tornadoes later today, especially as we get closer to about 6 o'clock. I think 6 o'clock, this storm is going to be the biggest threat from now till 6, and then these storms back in here will become a new biggest threat from about 6 to 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. And again, that's your tornado outlook. And that 2%, I don't agree with how far out that 2% tornado risk goes. I really don't think we'll be seeing much tornadic activity down here. We could see an isolated brief tornado, but our main tornadic activity will be limited to this area right in here over the next about 5 hours or so. But still stay weather aware if you are in that 2% tornado risk. That slight risk, here's your damaging wind outlook. 15% way down there for Oklahoma, upwards of 75 to 80 mile an hour winds being possible there. Also could see some hailstones up to 2 inch in diameter today. And then, like I said, our main tornado risk really going to be focused in North Dakota and far northeastern South Dakota for today. Tomorrow, we've got a general thunderstorm risk across the continental U.S. There is no notable risk for severe weather tomorrow. However, I do think there is a chance for a tornado or two across the Outer Banks of North Carolina. There is a tropical or subtropical system. It's hard to say if it's warm core or cold core. If it is warm core, it's a tropical system. If it's cold core, it's subtropical. But either way, we'll have the risk for gusty winds of 20 miles per hour and a brief tornado or two across the coastal areas of North Carolina tomorrow, which is Monday, as well as Tuesday. We could see a brief tornado across the coastal areas of North Carolina into southeastern Virginia. Going into Tuesday, we also have a marginal risk back up in Nebraska. Really doesn't look like anything crazy. Severe weather is it's very much a mesoscale event recently. So a lot of our severe events just kind of pop out of nowhere. So just make sure you're weather aware for our day 3 outlook. That's going to be on Tuesday out there in Nebraska. I really think the main threat will be 60 mile an hour winds, 1 inch hail. Probably right around those hazards. Yeah, we'll keep watching this storm here. Apparently it's on the ground. I'll go check chaser feeds here. Let's see. Huh? Okay. Well, that was a huge funnel, but I didn't see it condensed. Go to this chaser feed here. Who did you guys see a monster tornado? Where'd you guys see that at? Whose feed? I see a wispy funnel cloud that may have had brief contact with the ground. I don't see no monster tornado. Yeah, I see a wispy little tornado. Is that a debris cloud? I can't tell if it's a tornado or a funnel cloud, but it may have had brief contact with the ground. Yeah, it's another wispy funnel again, so it's trying to produce, but it's not producing at the moment. Okay, a huge funnel cloud is not a monster tornado, though. That's there's a big difference between a monster tornado and a huge funnel. And that's a very wispy funnel. A very disorganized funnel. That's why it didn't touch down. You saw the huge, so like your cloud base, like I'll draw it out for you. So you had like the ground right here. Black line is the ground. Blue line is the cloud tops because it's literally that close. And you had this huge funnel like this large, right? Your huge mesocyclone, big funnel cloud like that large. But then your actual funnel came down and that thing was like this. Like it went to a tiny little noodle. Tiny little noodle. And I didn't see any debris cloud. I couldn't tell from the chaser I'm watching. I couldn't tell if there was ground contact there or not. I did hear the sirens go off, which means there is a new warning. They did go for observed on that one. So they do believe that little wispy funnel barely touched the ground there. So this is not on the ground anymore at the moment. It's lifted again. But if you are in this tornado warning, this storm has a history of producing multiple tornadoes. So please seek shelter immediately. Also has a history of producing very, very brief, quick tornadoes. Yeah, that's the little convergent signature we're going to have to watch right there. I have to keep an eye on the green and red. So that's an observed tornado warning. Just make sure you're in your safe spot. I do want to turn to the tropics real quick. I know. But I have to at least update you guys on some other stuff too, because I don't know when my next stream will be here. So we do have Mario out in the Eastern Pacific. That actually was a tropical storm forecasted to be a hurricane, then got downgraded to a tropical depression, dissipated out of nowhere, came back as a tropical storm, another tropical storm, same name, Mario. And here we are now. It is still Mario moving off to the northwest, thankfully not affecting any land. We are expecting a very high chance for a tropical storm in the main development region out here. Okay, that tornado warning still very disorganized meso now. Very, very disorganized meso. Barely rotation from what I can tell. But yeah, this is likely going to end up becoming a tropical storm out here. It might take a little longer. So it's currently located, like, let me see. Where's the NHC have this being? Yeah, they have it being like right in here. I don't think this thing's going to develop until it gets very far. It might get to a tropical storm somewhere in here, but there's not really a lot of model support developing it before it's parallel, or rather before it's just to the northeast of Guadalupe, out there in the Lesser Antilles. And it looks like this is pretty much a set in stone sea storm. Out to sea storm here. So let me see the European ensembles. Yeah, like all but just a few ensembles keep this completely out to sea. So I think this will be an out to sea tropical storm. I think it will be out to sea. We'll have to watch Bermuda now, because if it does turn a little bit later, it could go towards Bermuda. If it turns quicker like the GFS has, it won't hit anybody. But our hurricane season really very inactive. We only got one AOI out here in the Eastern Atlantic, and then we are watching that low pressure off the coastline of the Carolinas right now. Very disorganized low pressure going to make its way inland, going towards Tuesday, probably about Tuesday, Wednesday, going to make its way inland. So we'll watch that. But main threat with that will be some isolated flash flooding, 20-mile-an-hour gusty winds, and a brief tornado could be possible in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, specifically tomorrow into Tuesday morning. Our tropics, I don't really think we're going to be seeing much, but I will warn y'all. I have to put a big discretion on the tropics being inactive now. I went over this with my my family because I didn't stream, so I had a weather talk with my family. I'm like, dude, so basically the Caribbean and the Gulf are they're not it's not even bath water at this point in the terms of boiling hot bath water. This thing is like I can't even express it. It's historically hot. The temperatures in the Caribbean and the Gulf are historically hot. You may be saying why? Well, we've been over the last 8 years, we've been about 8 years or so, we've been observing hotter and hotter and hotter temperatures every year with hurricane season. This hurricane season has been very inactive in the Caribbean and the Gulf, and because of that, the Gulf and the Caribbean haven't been touched. So if we get a system, I mean it so much. If we get a system that goes from the Caribbean to the Gulf, that thing's potential is going to be historic. I mean, the ocean heat content, the temperatures on the surface, the just everything is with the ocean is ridiculously hot. It is historically hot. I think our global anomalies is like 2 degrees higher than normal in the Gulf and the Caribbean. And that's like it's historic. It's the hottest it's ever been. I'm pretty sure it's the hottest it's ever been recorded. I wish I saw the chart. I did see the chart. I just didn't save it because I'm stupid like that. But it's literally the hottest it's ever been for the Caribbean and the Gulf. And I mean, all it takes is one system and one system with minimal wind shear. And in early October's known for that, especially recently, late the last week of September, the first 2 weeks of October. We got the three weeks, about 21 full days for us to see any type of tropical development in the Caribbean to the Gulf. Very, very common to see this area right in here light up towards the end of September, early October. And all it takes is one. Like I said, it's crazy how favorable that environment is. As long as we don't have wind shear to interfere with it and there's not a lot of dry air, it literally sky's the limit for the intensity on whatever system can make its way into the northern Caribbean towards the Gulf. So do not let your guard down if you're on the Gulf Coast. We do have another wispy tornado on the ground that is already, looks to me like it's already lifted. Looks to me that it's already lifted. So we just had a very brief wispy tornado occur right here. And that's what I was talking about. Very quick, brief spin up tornadoes. That's going to be the name of the game. We've probably had like at this point 5 to 8 tornadoes out of this one storm. Thank you, Legacy, for being a member for 25 months. 25 months, over 2 years being a member now. That is wild. That is wild. I believe you and Theodore Johnson, I think is his name. Those are our only 2 members that have been members for 25 months. For 24 or 25 months. Only 2 people. So I really, really appreciate the support. Legacy. Glad to see you got your channel back too. I was really happy to see you upload again. Because, man, I mean, losing a YouTube channel, that's horrible. That is terrible. Let's see. Yeah, I think this tornadoes are... It might be rain-wrapped. This might be completely rain-wrapped to where we don't see it. So this may still be on the ground. It's just, it could be completely rain wrapped now. Either way, seek shelter. This is an observed tornado warning. I do need to change the title right now because there's no longer a PDS tornado warning. Let me change that right now. Let's see here. There we go. Perfect. I wanted to change that because I just jumped on my computer and hit go live. I just barely made a title. Yeah, that's probably still on the ground. I'd imagine this is still on the ground, just completely rain wrapped. Very weak rotation, though. Very, very weak rotation. Hello, Catman. Glad to see you in here. But yeah, I'm really worried for the last week of September and the first 2 weeks of October for hurricane season. I really hope we get like a high pressure that just sits over the southern US. That'd be awesome. Just redirects all systems out to sea. Because like I said, the Caribbean and the Gulf are like historically hot. We just got an SPC update. Let's see if they kept the 5% tornado risk. I'd say probably. I'd say probably. Okay, yeah, they did. Yeah, I didn't think they dropped that. The only change with this update was a minor west expansion of the slight risk for a 5% tornado probability within the Tornado Watch issuance 610. Here, a concentrated corridor of enhanced lower level vorticity accompanying the northern moving MCV will support the potential for a couple tornadoes in the near term. The tornado risk should gradually be maximized along the path of the MCV with time. Additional development would be possible along the warm front draped across portions of south central and southeastern North Dakota with a strengthening lower level jet. A couple tornadoes will be possible given the favorable strengthening lower level shear and destabilization in the boundary layer. Yeah, that's probably still a tornado ongoing. I'd imagine that's still a tornado right there. Just pretty well southeast of Lincoln in central North Dakota. You're a good legacy. Yeah, and you can see these storms too. I wouldn't rule out a brief spin up tornado with these storms. They're not nearly as close to the MCV, so it's more unlikely, but I wouldn't rule one out with how they look at the moment. So we'll need to keep an eye on that just in case. Yeah, we have an MCV in here, and that's what's giving us our highest tornado risk today. So they expanded those tornado probabilities probably just barely off to the west. I imagine it wasn't much change. Yeah, just I mean the slightest expansion of that 5% risk. And then our tornado threat will also be later in the day with these storms too. These guys probably going to end up seeing a couple tornadoes out of those storms too, if not additional storms that develop later in the day. It all depends on the high pressures, random guy. Depends on the Bermuda high and the Azores high and where the wave comes off orientated to those high pressures. So Aaron was very, very far south, which means that high pressure grabbed it a little bit later, and thus it was a much closer call for like the northern Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and then eventually Bermuda and NC, because of how far it was from that high pressure. So it depends on, the main thing is your two highs. Your Azores high, which is in the pretty much in the northeastern Atlantic, and then your Bermuda high, which is exactly where it sounds, generally around Bermuda. Yeah, still could easily have a tornado ongoing here. Like I said, I think this storm produced probably about 6 tornadoes at this point. And again, we want to watch these little areas of rotation too, so just keep an eye on that. That far eastern one looks the best at the moment, but still doesn't look that strong. Oh! Okay. So that's difficult. That's in a precipitationless core right there, so... That guy scared me for a second, but... Considering that's an increase in ZDR and not a decrease... I wouldn't rule that out being a land spout. Or even... Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out just being a tornado. Radar doesn't correlate very well with that, but... That might be. Let's see. Is that a... let's go 4-panel on that. Well, if that was ACC, it's gone now, and it had very minimal change with ZDR. What about spectrum width? It was slightly present. If that is CC, it was very, very weak. Yeah, I don't think that was a tornado because it appeared in one scan and then disappeared in the next, but I don't think that was a tornado. Like I said, the only thing that really correlated with that was the velocity in the CC. Reflectivity kind of screams contamination with that. Same with this one to the east. I don't think that was a tornado, but again, you never really know. Just gonna keep an eye on those just in case. Yeah, this whole thing still, it's just a large wispy mesocyclone. Pretty disorganized. And then every now and then we just get a little area of good rotation that drops a quick noodle tornado. Okay. I'm looking at the time here. I'm gonna have to 17 minutes. Hmm. We'll see what they do with this new warning, but I do gotta go in 6 minutes. I only hopped on here for that PDS warning. It was a last second decision. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just cover for a bit. 50 minutes is better than 0, right? I apologize for it being brief. I don't like to do brief coverages, but I didn't expect to stream today. But I mean, hey, we gotta cover a few tornadoes. So yeah, in the future, I mean, really, there's not much after today. Today's really, today just popped out of nowhere. Last night, everything was like, you know, I think a MCV is gonna just come out of nowhere and decide to go over North Dakota and spawn a couple tornadoes. All of our model guidance just started to show that. Again, the East Coast could see a brief tornado, specifically the coastline of North Carolina. We'll have to see if that low pressure moves inland or not. But just watch it on the coastline in North Carolina and Virginia. I'll be watching that very, 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 very closely to see if it is a tropical system or not. Ooh. Now that, see, the ZDR didn't decrease. That makes me a little skeptical right there. That ZDR not decreasing, but the spectrum width, the spectrum width confirms the velocity is present. We have DBZ there and we have a CC. That I'm pretty sure that is an unworn tornado. With that debris signature continuing for 3 scans. I'm pretty sure that is a tornado. That's way more convincing than the last CC. And ZDR did decrease. That is likely an unworn tornado. I'm going to give that another scan here, and then I'm going to tweet it. Just check the spectrum width on that. Yeah. Yeah, probability of debris 90, is that 90%? 96%. 96% chance that is a tornado. See you later, Legacy. Wait. Hold on. Okay, that's an extension to this one. I thought maybe they just warned it. Okay. I misspelled that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is a unworn tornado. That is that's over a national wildlife refuge. Oops. Let me take a look at it on this one. Yeah. Likely already lifting. So just stay hyper weather aware, especially in this area. It seems like we're probably going to get a couple more tornadoes out of these storms here once I sign off. Definitely could see a couple more tornadoes, maybe even a strong one. All right, y'all. That's gonna be it for me. I do gotta go. I'll keep an eye on it on my phone, and if I do see anything, I'll probably tweet about it on Twitter. Same as the handle here on YouTube, TRG Tornado on Twitter. If you'd like to follow me there, that's where I'll give updates if I am watching. I'll give updates there. But as for here, this urgent coverage was warranted for a PDS tornado warning. I had the time to go live, so I decided to just hit the go live button and roll with it. So I appreciate everyone who tuned in. It was great to hang with y'all for 50 minutes. I would go 10 more minutes, but the thing I have to do is literally in like 2 minutes or so. So I got to head off now. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Sam, Misty, Storm Racer, Twilight, Critty, Misty, Tornadic Rebel, RC, Legacy, Caleb, Catman, all you guys, Western Ohio. Yeah, and also Legacy for being a member for now 25 months. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Appreciate the support. Please stay hyper weather aware if you are in the tornado watch. Just make sure you are weather aware. Have multiple ways to receive watches and warnings. Once again, this urgent coverage was warranted for a PDS tornado warning that actually ended up dropping multiple weak brief tornadoes. I do think we'll see a couple more weak brief tornadoes. Maybe even a strong one can't be ruled out. And again, just stay hyper weather aware, stay close to local media outlets, and have multiple ways to receive watches and warnings if you're in that watch area. So yeah, that's it. Stay safe, watch for your weather in the tropics. Catch you in the next one. Goodbye.